I'm Caitlin Doolittle from Western Wisconsin Journal. Today I'm outside Hanley Road to talk about ash trees. And today to learn more is Director of Public Works and Parks, Mroz. How are you doing today?
Doing fine, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, for starters, can you just tell me everything you know about ash trees and their history in the city of Hudson?
Yeah. So obviously the reason we're out here today is because of the emerald ash borer. It was first found in the city back in 2017. Who knows how it got here, but they're kind of the DNR is thinking that it came through on when people are camping and it's on some lumber, so on and so forth. It was first found over by the McDonald's off of the exit 2 intersection there. And so prior to coming here, the city had a pretty healthy ash tree population. We had about 1,400 ash trees in our public parks and in our right-of-ways, which is the boulevards of the streets. And since then, obviously, there's been a lot of devastation due to the beetle, and a majority of them have either come down or will be coming down over the next couple of years.
Yeah, can you explain more about like the beetle and what it does to the tree itself?
Yep. So the beetle is a small, I should have brought it along, but it's a really small, green, shiny beetle. And basically what happens is they bore into, this is an ash tree that we're standing in front of here. They bore into the bark and they basically lay eggs, and they typically do it up at the crown. And then when the larvae hatch, or the eggs hatch and the larvae, they kind of just bore and they tunnel down the entire tree and basically cut off its nutrient system. And so if people are wondering if they have an ash tree in their yard, obviously some of the tall tale signs for infestation is just general dieback of the crown loss. There's also epicormic sprouting that occurs, which means towards the base of the trunk, you'll start to see kind of new shoots trying to keep the tree alive. And then the third thing that we look at, and it's easier to see in the winter months, is just flecking. And so what happens is woodpeckers love the larva of the emerald ash borer. And so they'll attack these trees. And I don't know if you can get on this one, but I know there's one over on the other area. You can just see like the bark starting to come off, and the bark actually kind of turns white. It's white. It's from the woodpeckers trying to get at the larvae to have a meal.
Okay, yeah. And what are you focusing on like currently with like tree removal right now?
Yeah. So obviously I stated we had 1,400 trees when we first started this process, and my predecessor, Tom Zuley, and the Urban Forestry Board did a really good job as far as preparing the way for this happening. And so we did some selective removals, small ash trees underneath power lines or ones that were in poor condition. We did end up treating some to just kind of prolong their life so that we didn't have one major expense at one time. But the city will ultimately remove all of the public ash trees and then obviously replant them. So we are down to about 150 ash trees remaining in the city. And so they'll be coming down over the next couple of months. Then we'll turn it over to stump restoration, or stump grinding and restoration, turf restoration. And then after that occurs, we'll start a replanting program probably starting next year in 2026.
Yeah, awesome. And what is that like the stump grinding and like the replanting like look like for you?
Yep. So obviously with the storms that we've had over the 2 or 3 years ago, and then all the ash trees that have come down, we're pushing about 800 stumps that need to be ground throughout the community. So what'll happen is we'll dedicate some public works staff and some seasonal staff kind of maybe later in the summer when things typically slow down due to less rain, so on and so forth, keep the staff busy. But we may also bring on an outside contractor to help supplement the stump grinding, just because it is a very labor intensive and it takes a lot of time to do. And the goal is to try to get through all of them, this year and next year, and just so that we can move on to planting. So, obviously you gotta call in the utility, locate. It's on 800, stumps. You gotta go out there and grind it, remove the chips, bring black dirt back in, throw the seed down. So it is a process.
And what specific trees are you like replanting? Is there like a variety, or?
Yep. So if people have ash trees in their yard and they're looking to replant, the city of Hudson has a great resource online. It's on our website. It's the urban forestry page, and on there we have a list of recommended trees that can be, native to this area. Things like, oak trees, elm trees that are Dutch elm resistant. There's also varieties like Kentucky coffee tree that isn't a well-known tree, but we found it to be a very viable solution here, and it grows it's really hardy and it grows well. And so, yeah, there's a list of recommended trees on the city's website. So those are the trees that we'll start to target as more of the native trees. Yep.
Yeah, and for homeowners, if they identify an ash tree like in their yard, can they approach like the public works department, or how do they go about the removal process?
They can obviously call my office and see, just to confirm. But as far as giving them guidance, what I tell residents is, like, if there's 25% or more crown loss in that tree, it's not really worth saving. So a lot of homeowners will call and say, hey, can I treat my tree? Can I save it? So that's the first thing I look at, is like, okay, how much crown loss do you have? Because once it's kind of past that point, we've found from our standpoint that treating it doesn't save the tree, okay? And so the other thing too with treating is you got to do it once a year or once every other year, depending upon the chemicals used. So it is a long-term investment. You're paying, $200 to $300 to treat that tree every year or every 2 years. So at what point is there like a cost, benefit ratio where, okay, maybe it's beneficial for me to remove it and replant and save money in the long run.
Okay, just have that conversation with you and be that resource. Okay, awesome. Yeah, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to highlight at all, or anything else that people should know about this process? Yeah,
so people have called my office and asked me, can I plant a tree in the boulevard, right? And so you can, but there is a process. So on that same website, there is a right-of-way planting application. And so what that is basically the resident would fill that out if they want to plant a tree next to the street, and they send that to my office. There's no cost. So, but what I review is it the right tree for the right space? So we're not planting a 60-foot tall tree underneath a power line. We're not planting over utility lines, whether it be a water line or a sanitary line. And also we're not planting a tree in the vision triangle. So I probably receive 12 to 24 applications every year that I review. And so if people are not wanting to wait a year or two to get a tree out in front of their house along the street, that is an option for residents to do.
Okay, yeah, awesome. So there's a little bit of everything for folks. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for telling us everything that you're working on right now. So awesome. All right, I'm Caitlin Doolittle, and this has been Western Wisconsin Journal.